Hey traders, Nick here recapping the week ending 6/8. Fantastic week. Unbelievable. First of all, let's start with Friday. Friday started out to be a scary day, and but if you can tell just by looking at the candle. So this is 240-minute chart, and the day started out pretty scary, and the bottom of the candle was like it was going to open up down almost 1%, I think, in the pre-market, and then it got better. And by the time we opened, we were almost flat. And then basically fear, the bears, failed to take advantage and recapture past glory, recent glory. So more on that in a little bit. The day ended up green, but the more impressive part about the fact that the day ended up green on Friday is the fact that they did it without Apple, Google, Amazon, Facebook. Basically, the mega caps were not participating. In fact, they were red. Apple may have been down 1%. So that alone is a drag of 0.15%-ish on the Qs, for example. So on the day, if I go back to the daily candle, the bears tried to sell it down, but they couldn't, and we closed basically at a breakout point. Speaking of, next week is an eventful week, and we can certainly have big moves. I labeled it in the write-up that it's a long shot scenario just because I don't want to be uber bullish. My goal was 27.55 on the ES, and we exceeded it this week. We got too fast to my secondary goal, which was 27.92. These are the E-minis, so think SPX, back to that same chart. So we closed at, what is that, 27.80. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how close we came. Okay, so my goal was 27.92, so I guess now I have to give you a third tertiary goal, which I will, but from the SPY. And I drew it already, this little zigzag thing. I always draw it in a zigzag because I never think we're going to go straight up. So how does this happen? It will happen if we can close above this trend line technically. It should throw us up higher to this green box. What is this green box? Let's zoom out and see what the heck it is. So this green box is an eyeball area for me. That was a breakout point and a failure point, and we got back to it. Failed, and here we are getting with. If this plays out, we would get back to it. Well, I'll tell you what, if we get back to it and fail and then get back to it again, the goal this year would be over 300 on the SPY. What, am I insane? No, I'm not insane. I'm going to draw it out for you. Let's see here. I'll draw it out this way. This is worth it because the technicals matter. So here is the neckline I'm talking about. If we come to here, however we get to here, we fail, and then we do this. Even if we fall down to here, I don't care. If we get back to it, and when we get back to it, and break it, and close above it, the goal would then become something as big as this. So think up here. That is a head and shoulders inverse, not quite. It's loosely interpreted because of this poke right here. So I would think about it as a massive cup and handle. There's the cup. That would be, we'd be building a handle if we do that. And then up we go. And usually the rally is the size of the depth, technically speaking. For me, I look left. There'll be a stopover point right here. So 285, 290. 285, 286, and then before they get to 290. So this is just a big picture. For next week, this is the potential upside. For next week, this is the potential downside. We may retest this little neckline. All right, so the day was green after an effort from the bears who failed miserably, and I'll tell you about what. Next week, we're packed with catalysts. I'll go through them one at a time. The week this week is obviously green with all-time highs new on the NASDAQ, I believe, and the small caps. So like things like Facebook kissed their all-time high. And somebody actually in the media said they had the guts to say Facebook has done nothing this year. Like, what are you talking about? They rallied 30% off their bottom in March, and they've done nothing this year. That's his interpretation. Just because he looks at, how it came into the year and where it is right now, and on the scoreboard, okay, then it hasn't done anything. Meanwhile, it had a 30% drop and a 30% rally, and it's done nothing this year. So don't listen. Just use your own thesis and trade accordingly. All right, so the week was green, and next week catalysts are as follows. First of all, we've got the G7 meeting going on right now through the weekend. Major news out of it this morning. Mr. Macron comes out and says, we will have a statement. If the U.S. will be combative, we will have, for the first time ever, a six-nation communique at the end of the statement, meaning they will snub the U.S. because of President Trump's hardcore stance on negotiations and tariffs, etc. So by the middle of the afternoon, guess who comes out? Has to eat Mr. Macron's word. The G7, they come out and say, well, it looks like we will not have a communique at all because of failure of consensus. Look, you haven't met yet. So they already ate the words of Mr. Macron from the morning until the afternoon. So they know they don't have leverage. He bluffed and they failed. Maybe they'll come out with one. I don't know, but it's just silly how they're playing it with words. The U.S. is using words in order to negotiate, and it's working so far. It's crass, it's bullyish, but hey, if I have muscles, I'd like to wear a tank top, that's so be it. It's kind of like a different way of saying it. So anyway, it's not the right way to do it, but they haven't done it for decades, so maybe this is the only way to do it for now. So that's one event. What's going to happen from the G7? If nothing happens by Monday, I expect a green Monday. But it's a violent week potentially because we have the Federal Reserve on Wednesday. They will decide whether they want to hike rates or not. And not only ours, but we also have the ECB. Mr. Draghi this week elevated the rhetoric, and he promised drama. So maybe they'll start cutting their QE over there. But he's notorious for saying, hey, things are awesome over here, but guess what? We're going to keep the foot on the pedal. But hey, we will taper. But wait, so he's two-faced. He's a master in jibber jabber. Who knows what he's going to do? I will not trade currency during this week or bonds because it's going to be a completely binary outcome and it's gambling. We don't know what's going to be said and how markets are going to react. I just need to be ready. So if the Fed raises rates, I think everybody's expecting it. I'm not sure. I lost track, but I don't think it really matters much. But it's definitely a major event. We also have the Korean summit, and we also have the negotiations. I think we're nearing some deadlines on NAFTA, on I forget what else. Anyway, we have a slew of other negotiations. Are we meeting with the Chinese? I don't know. I lost count. But here's the point on the Chinese. I doubt it very much if we're going to have a tariff war with China. I'm very certain, just my gut tells me that there's a deal already done behind closed doors between China and the U.S., and the U.S. is using China in order to squeeze European car makers into a corner. And I'll tell you why. I think he's going to make the Europeans think that they're friends with China and they're going to be able to gang up against the U.S. with China. And then the U.S. is going to say, hey, we've got a deal with China. All right, let me direct all of my attention to you, European car makers. How come our cars go in there with I forget how much it was, 20%, 15% tariff, when your cars, when they come into the U.S., they get only taxed 2.5% or 2.25%, whatever. So these are the words that are flying around, and my gut instinct is that he will strike a deal with China and then therefore breaking them up so they can't gang up on us with China. Then they'll have to face, I mean, the U.S. is a huge consumer. We're only 300 and some million people, but we outspend everybody. So, customer is always right, as they say. We're the customer, the largest one. So that's my opinion. It's personal opinion. Take it or leave it. All right, so the trading was very quick, and we had a lot of winners. Some expected, others not. I'll just give you an idea. We've been waiting on a Teva breakout. Let me zoom out. Today broke out in a big way, up, 6%? And I drew this line a long time ago. Now, this is a lot of hopium. I mean, that would be insane if they do it. But if I look left, I mean, what was that? All right, that's one of them. We're long that. Let's see, Triple M also noted longs. Those are greens, and it's almost breaking out. Let's see. J&J, I think, was the better one. Oh, I remember which one. J&J also started its breakout, long and profitable. Oracle. That was it. So here's the Oracle. If I was a short in Oracle, I'd be, messing my pants right now. Why? Because whatever happened here, I don't know what it is. They closed above it today, and in a big way. I mean, intraday, the move was fantastic. This is today. So it was a violent move, but it doesn't look like much on the daily candle because of how it happened. But it was already green early in the day and just got greener and faster, greener, and then big a push into the close. So whoever shorted this will have to cover, because they say gaps want to get closed, and this is a massive gap. Not every gap gets closed, but I do like this one, and I'm holding it. And I have a whole slew of other trade ideas that I shared by video earlier today, and I'm sharing in write-ups and updates. So for example, I booked my XLV just because I'm still long, even though it has a lot more upside, but it's very profitable, and I'm long Teva, and they kind of play in the same genre, so I dumped one, so I'm not too long everything at all times. I shorted Lulu for a trade. I'm terrible at shorting Lulu, but I couldn't resist this gap. So I will share it in writing. Very low conviction. Went long a few other names at very good conviction, and some high flyers. IQ. I mean, how big of a win has that been? It's insane. I love it. That's the Netflix of China. So those are the VIX. So this is the VXX, which is a derivative of the VIX. It's not good long term, because if I show you the long term, here's the 5-year. Okay, so this is what scared this right here. It was the correction in February. That is the chart that scared the world. In February when we had the correction. It's silly, right? Okay, this is designed to go to zero over time, by the way. So here's the daily chart. Recently, I said they lost the ledge, and this week they had the opportunity to break through the ledge a couple of times, and they failed. Yesterday, they broke through, and they couldn't hold it, and then they went back and closed. So today, the VIX closed high today, green. I mean, it was green most of the days. I didn't look at it at the close, but they closed on the low, towards the low. So it's not a good statement for the bears. Why? Because we're going into a very violent week, and they couldn't muster retaking this silly line. So the bears should be a little bit nervous. Without a new headline, the thesis for the bears is very, very thin. That's my opinion. All right, I don't want to keep you any longer than this, but it was an outstanding week. Gold, I'm still long and a loser in gold, because there's potential here. Gold shouldn't be this quiet for this long. So maybe next week they break out of this flag. At close anywhere around 1307 on the gold futures, will invite buyers to quickly get to this level. Conversely, a close below this trend line right here would probably get a retest of this. But this tells me that they want to defend it hard. And that's why I'm sticking with my losses in the GLD calls. So I am long gold, but I'm red. So I'm watching. I still like the odds of this breakout versus breakdown, but it is tight, and it'll probably happen next week. And gold is too quiet for too long, in my opinion. Let's see what happens there. All right, next signing out. If you have any questions, let me know.